So I've got a question for you guys. Are these federal judges, are they actually the president of the United States? It seems like the federal judges are running the country. Yes, that's what it really appears to me. And I don't believe this is how a country is supposed to be run. There is the administrative branch that I believe is supposed to administrate. You know, if we can't pass a budget, a federal judge doesn't just get to step in and throw a bone to the Democrat Party and say, well, yeah, I get that all your constituents are going to be really upset because of X thing. So therefore, you have to provide money for X thing. The Republican Party has to provide money for X thing in order to benefit the Democrats, because the Democrats, in this case, don't want to vote for the continuing resolution, which I've said before, continuing resolutions, all of these omnibus bills and all this stuff, these things are absolutely horrific. Okay. I mean, I do have a little bit of a libertarian streak in me. And when I see these things, it's like kicking the can down the road. And that seems to be what's happening. But now, after this whole fight over the budget, Republicans are trying to get the Democrats to come to the table. I think we need, 5 votes for the Democrats to pass this continuing resolution. And there's this whole outrage over the fact that SNAP benefits, the money is running out because the Democrats do not want to vote for the continuing resolution. It's become a chaos in the political scene where each side is blaming the other when in reality it's the Democrat Party because they don't want to vote for a budget. So the government is shut down and they're using it as a political chess piece or whatever. And Democrats blaming the Republicans blaming the Democrats, when in reality, it's the Democrats all along. They are just lying. But a federal judge, or 2 federal judges, actually have stepped in. And this is the latest one. Federal judge orders Trump administration to pay SNAP benefits out of contingency fund. The ruling came one day before funding for SNAP, more commonly known as food stamps, was set to lapse. And you'll never guess who appointed these 2 judges. We're gonna inspect that here in a second. Okay, guys, it's pretty remarkable. It's always seems to happen. It always seems to be the known culprit here. Okay, a Rhode Island federal judge on Friday ordered the U.S. Department of Agriculture to distribute money owed to recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program as soon as possible. Quote, just one day before funding for SNAP was set to lapse, U.S. District Judge John McConnell's ruling from the bench came shortly after another federal judge in a separate case said that the Trump administration's plan not to pay out SNAP benefits beginning on November 1st due to the ongoing federal government shutdown was unlawful, but stopped short of ordering the Trump administration to disperse funds. So first, let's take a look at Judge John McConnell Jr. here. Okay, this is Judge John McConnell. And down in the comments, let me know before I scroll down and we look who appointed this judge. I want you to take a guess. Just take a wild guess who you think appointed old Judge John McConnell from Rhode Island here. Let's scroll down here. Preceded by William Smith, assumed office May 6, 2011. And boom, there it is. Appointed by none other than Barack Hussein Obama. Yes, it was Barack Obama. And now let's go to this other judge that they're talking about. This is the other judge that said Trump not paying out SNAP benefits was unlawful, even though we don't have a budget. So this is basically, these are liberal judges who are taking the leverage completely away from the Republican Party to pass a budget, which is how, unfortunately, this is how politics works. You have leverage. It's like, yeah, things come down to the line, things come down to the wire. Republicans are like, listen, I get you want SNAP benefits funded. We do too. But you're going to have to vote for a budget. It's That's how things get done. If they start passing these things piecemeal only when the Republicans are in power and we allow these federal judges to run the government, Republicans have no power. They're not playing on the same level as the Democrats. Were Republicans getting their judges to pass certain programs when Biden was in office in order to take the leverage away from the Democrat Party? I don't remember seeing that in the 2020 through 2024 years. But this is Indira Talwani. Okay. Oh, I just revealed it. You might not have seen that, but I want you to guess once again, who do you think appointed Indira Talwani? Scroll down. Boom. There it is. Barack Hussein Obama. Yes. So the likely culprit, once again, is the culprit, believe it or not. But this is the latest ruling in favor of a group of cities and community organizations that sued over the cuts. McConnell said that the USDA must fund SNAP using money in a contingency fund. But he added that if the department finds that the money in the contingency fund is insufficient, then the agency must use other funding sources to make those payments. So not only is he saying they must use the contingency fund, if the contingency fund runs out, because I think it only funds 70 to 80% maybe of the money that is allotted, I guess, for SNAP benefits, which I think is in the realm of $8 to $9 billion a month, some crazy thing like that. And believe it or not, I saw this on NBC the other day. Apparently, it's a massive 1 in 8 Americans are on SNAP benefits. It's crazy. But not only do they have to use the contingency money, if that runs out, they have to find other sources, other funding sources, and pull money from those sources, those programs, and put it into SNAP benefits. So they are neutralizing the Republicans' leverage on this continuing resolution. They're taking any power away from the Republican Party to pass a budget, and they are giving it all to the Democrats. It's absolutely insane. I think this is a complete injustice, even though I hate continuing resolutions. But this didn't happen when Biden was in office. They didn't take the power away from the Democrats and give it to the Republicans, these federal judges. Quote, there is no doubt that the $6 billion in contingency funds are appropriated funds necessary to carry out the program's operation, McConnell said in his oral ruling. Quote, the shutdown of the government through funding doesn't do away with SNAP. It just does away with the funding of it. There could be no greater necessity than the prohibition across the board of funds for the program's operation. It says the shutdown of the government through funding doesn't do away with SNAP. It just does away with the funding of it. Isn't that the whole purpose of SNAP? Is the funding? It gives people who can't, you can argue there's a lot of people that are on SNAP that shouldn't be on SNAP, but that aside, it gives people who are not supposed to have the money for food, money to go buy food. So I just do not understand this argument he is making. It doesn't do away with SNAP. It just, the funding is not there. It's like, well, of course, those things are kind of intrinsically tied, Judge. McConnell added, there is no doubt, and it is beyond argument, that irreparable harm will begin to occur if it hasn't already occurred in the terror it has caused some people about the availability of funding for food for their family. Well, then, what needs to happen? These things will be funded fully. The Democrat Party should step up and vote for this continuing resolution. That's the nature of politics, leverage. You don't just get to arbitrarily take away the leverage just because a bunch of people might have a tough time for a little bit. If the Democrats want these things funded, they vote for the continuing resolution. Plain and simple. So, federal judges, once again, neutralizing Donald Trump and the Republican Party, taking away their leverage completely. McConnell addressed the Trump administration's argument that contingency funds might be needed for other reasons in the near future, like the aftermath of a hypothetical hurricane. Quote, it's clear that when compared to the millions of people that will go without funds for food versus the agency's desire not to use contingency funds in case there's a hurricane, need the balances of these equities clearly goes on the side of ensuring that people are fed, the judge said. McConnell asked the administration for an update on the SNAP funding by Monday, so that's tomorrow. President Trump said on social media Friday that government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available, and now 2 courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do. So now we have warring courts. We have one court saying one thing, one court saying another thing. This is the clear sign, a clear sign of courts being completely run, not by law, but by politics. And this is nothing new. We've seen this. We saw this when Donald Trump was being indicted and persecuted over in New York with those lawsuits, Letitia James. Of course, we saw it with Jack Smith and the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago and all of that. But Trump said this, quote, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. So I kind of like that they're obfuscating here. They're like, well, what do you really mean here? Like, how do we fund SNAP? And like, what you want us to take from other programs, put it in SNAP if the whole thing's not funded? Like, this is a whole mess. Can you please tell us? I mean, because like, obviously now you're acting as the executive here. Like, I mean, you guys clearly run the country here. So can you please, federal Obama appointed judges, please tell us, how do we run the country? How are we supposed to fund these things, especially if we have 2 courts saying 2 separate things? So that's what Trump says. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett criticized the ruling in a Friday afternoon interview with Meet the Press. He said, I think that the liberal judges weren't correct on this. Quote, I think that our legal analysis is that we have to use the emergency money for emergencies. He goes on to say, but if you think about it, we're in something that a Democrat judge is willing to say is an emergency because the Democrats won't open the government. So this is a emergency that is being created by the Democrat Party. They're putting all the onus on the Republicans, saying, oh, they're in charge. They have the House, they have the Senate, so they're in charge. It's their fault. It's their shutdown. When in reality, we're 5 votes short. The Democrats just have to come up with 5 votes to fund the government. We have the House, we have the Senate, but you have to have 60 votes. Yeah, we have a majority, but you have to have a super majority to pass these budgets, unfortunately. You have to have a supermajority. So you have to have 60. So you have to have some bipartisan support on the other side, if not a few. I think it's like 5 that are holdouts on the Democrat Party. So them blaming the Republicans is way off base. Democracy Forward, a progressive-led advocacy group that represented the plaintiffs, applauded the ruling, of course. Quote, today's decision affirms what both the law and basic decency require. The Trump-Vance administration must use its power to support the people in America, not to harm them. Quote, the court's ruling protects millions of families, seniors, veterans, blah, 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 blah. Perryman's group represented a coalition of plaintiffs, including local municipalities, charitable and faith-based nonprofit organizations and businesses and union groups in the Rhode Island suit. In the statement, Perryman added that their group is honored to represent a coalition that refused to accept hunger as a cruel tactic of political pressure, and we will continue fighting to ensure that our institutions serve people with integrity, compassion, and accountability. Who's using hunger as a tactic? And I said it once and I'll say it again. I actually admire the Democrats for shutting down the government. I do. When Biden was in office, it would always come down to the wire. We would have Republicans going in front of the cameras warning the Democrats, oh, we're going to shut down the government if you don't do X, Y, and Z, if you don't pass X, Y, and Z, if you don't do this, if you don't do that. It'd always come down the wire. It'd be like one day before the government shut down and all of a sudden, boom, the Republicans would concede everything. Grow some backbone, Republicans. I want to see the Republicans do this. In a separate ruling, a federal judge in Boston said Friday she wants further briefings before deciding if the Agriculture Department has to use emergency funds to continue SNAP benefits for millions of Americans after Democratic leaders sued the agency. Quote, plaintiffs have standing to bring this action and are likely to succeed on their claim that defendant's suspension of SNAP benefits is unlawful. This was Indira Talwani, the other Obama judge. Quote, where the suspension of benefits rested on an erroneous construction of the relevant statutory provisions, the court will allow defendants to consider whether they will authorize at least reduced SNAP benefits for November and report back to the court no later than Monday. Talwani, the district court for the District of Massachusetts, the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts, said the government can't simply suspend benefits because it can't afford to cover the program. Wait, what? No, that's real. Let me see if I can highlight this without it scrolling up again. Okay, here we go. The government can't simply suspend benefits because it can't afford to cover the program. Hold on a second. Make it make sense. Can you please make it make sense here? If it can't afford the program because the government is shut down, it's like say you're a family, right? Say you're a family, and all of a sudden something pops up, a big financial issue pops up. Maybe you get in a car accident. Maybe some unknown health problem arises, and you have to dish out a large sum of money. And say you're a family that really likes going out to eat a lot. You like to eat like multiple times a week. You spend hundreds of dollars to go out to eat multiple times a week. And this financial issue arises and you have to spend a lot of money. That's like saying, well, just because we can't afford it doesn't mean we can't just go out to eat. Let's just go out to eat. Let's just do it. How about we just do it? The make-up dream world that these people live in is just wild to me. Talwani says she wants to hear back from the administration no later than Monday. On Tuesday, the attorneys general of 22 states and the District of Columbia, as well as Kansas, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania, sued the Department of Agriculture, arguing that it is legally required to continue providing SNAP benefits during the government shutdown as long as the USDA has the funding. They asked the judge to compel the agency to use contingency funds appropriated by Congress. The lawsuit sought a temporary restraining order that would require the agency to deliver SNAP benefits through November in their states. The USDA had said in a message posted on its website that benefits won't be issued on EBT cards as expected on November 1st. Up to 42 million Americans rely on the program. Earlier Tuesday, before the ruling in Rhode Island and Massachusetts were handed down, Trump blamed the lapse in funding for SNAP on Senate Democrats, rightfully so, saying they could vote to end the ongoing federal government shutdown if they wanted to fund SNAP. So they're making this whole hubbub around SNAP, trying to use it as a political chess piece. And when they failed, they just get their liberal judges to step in and say, hey, you have to fund SNAP out of these contingency funds. And even if you don't have the whole thing, able to fund the whole piece of the pie, you have to get it from the emergency fund. Stuff that's used to fund catastrophes and stuff like tornadoes and whatnot. So the Democrats get like a free pass. So the Democrat says all Democrats have to do is say, let's go. I mean, or this is Donald Trump saying this. All the Democrats have to do is say, let's go. I mean, they don't have to do anything. All they have to do is say, the government is open. And this is what the president told reporters en route to Florida. And I want to show you what one government employee is doing during the shutdown. This is kind of funny. This is, I guess, an IRS employee. This is Breaking 9/11 posted this. I thought this was hilarious. He opened up a hot dog stand and he said, who thinks he's reporting all of those cash sales? I, for one, don't think he is. And, I'm kind of okay with that, even though he works for the IRS. But this is what the IRS guy is doing during the government shutdown watch.
I had been batting around this particular idea for a couple years of being a hot dog vendor. And then in June, I just decided that I had to just go for it.
In a suit.
I got notice that I would be furloughed on October 8th. I then had time to do it full time during the week, which is what I've been doing. I'm a tax lawyer. The IRS Office of Chief Counsel is my employer. And what I do is I write retirement plan regulations. I wear a suit every day that I am vending. Part of the culture of this city is that clothes have a lot to do with social positioning. So it's intended as an artistic comment.
Ah.
My man, sir.
Very artistic.
I I ordered a hot dog with just mustard, no ketchup, as he
It looks good.
as he advises.
This is just going beyond my wildest expectations. Part of the whole point of this is just to make people laugh and smile. The unifying theme of the people who come up and my interactions with them is just pure, unadulterated happiness and joy.
Thank you.
All of the federal workers I've met here have been incredibly supportive. I'm really happy to see them. Hopefully soon, I will go back to my office job and continue to operate this on Fridays and weekends. Everyone just wants to get back to work and keep serving the American people.
Well, look at that. There's some people in the government that have the entrepreneurial spirit. It's inspiring. It's absolutely inspiring. But what do you guys think of this? These judges are running the administration completely. It's the administrative branch, in my opinion. This is up to their purview. This is how they get things done. This is how they pass budgets. They use leverage. And, if the other side doesn't like it, they have to buckle down and say, what's important here? We want to fund SNAP benefits. So I guess we're going to have to either take the political hit and try to leverage the Republicans, or we're just got to buckle down and vote for the budget, fund SNAP benefits. But they have an ace in the hole, and it's these liberal judges that are able to neutralize the Republican Party. Is this right? Do you think this is right? I don't think this is right. I think this is an outrage. This is not how it happens on both sides. This is not how it happens. This is not how it works. One side is given this giant, no pun intended, trump card of federal judges. But let me know what you think about all this down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.